right, some of this you probably know, have heard before. Depression, to diagnose it officially, has to be a minimum of 2 weeks. So we're making a distinction right off the bat between depression and just like being down. So for yourself and other people, you know, like if you wake up and it's a dreary Thursday and you got a lot of stuff to do, and you go, oh, I'm down, and we throw that depression word around a lot, but it's not. So I kind of like reserve the depression word for depression and try not to, you try not to use that. Oh, I feel depressed today. You probably don't. Let's call it something else, because it's really a different kind of experience. We all experience the blues or being down or like that once in a while, but that's not what depression is all about. You get into a sad mood, of course. Lose enjoyment, low energy, worthlessness, guilt, thoughts about death, trouble with concentration, slow moving, and things like that. One of the things that creates the sad mood here, if you want to write something down, I'll tell you where these are too. Like, this would be a good thing to write down. If you're apt to write things down, one of the things that creates that sad mood are the 3 Ps. Do you like stuff like that? It sounds like you're going to be tested, right? Like teacher says, the 3 Ps, write it down, it'll show up on a test of what creates that sad mood. It's a pessimistic outlook. You understand what that, you sort of look at things, the half empty kind of a thing like that. And it's pervasive. So in the depressed mind, it's bad, it's everything, and then it's permanent, and it's not going to go away. And that belief system, that way of looking at the world, creates that sad mood. The loss of enjoyment, kind of a thing like that, best said by someone I knew years ago with that, and he looked at me with the sad eyes and the depressed, and he says, you know what it is? He says, I don't even enjoy pleasure anymore. Which sounds a little like crazy, but I knew what he was talking about. You get that? And that's what that loss of enjoyment is. I don't enjoy pleasure anymore. Things that would ordinarily with a human being create pleasure, things that I might have found pleasurable, doesn't work like it did before. Now we're starting to get the idea of what that depression might look like. Low energy, tired, sleepy, and again, don't get the wrong idea. You wake up in the morning at 5:30, 6 o'clock, and you go, I'm tired, I must be depressed. No, you're not, that's different. But this chronic tired, chronic sleepy kind of a thing, like that, where it takes a lot of energy to just do anything, which kind of works against you when you're trying to do something with depression to begin with, because because when somebody's depressed, you're like, it's time to take some action here, you want to do something, and you don't feel like it. And that's like the hardest part, is to get started to turn that around. You're probably going to deal with people like that who have been through some serious life circumstances, and they're not going to really have the energy to do that. There's probably times when they're like on the couch and you get frustrated, like, what is going on? Get off the couch and do something. That's one of the hardest things to do, is to get something moving when you're depressed. The worthlessness, the guilt, and then the next step beyond that is the shame. You're probably aware of that, like the difference between guilt and shame. Like, I did something wrong versus I'm wrong. There's something seriously wrong about me. Much more serious of a condition than like I did something I shouldn't have done. And so again, the people that you deal with there, I think that's a very important distinction between I wish I wouldn't have done that and I'm bad. It's a more personal, deeper kind of a thing. And whenever you're talking to somebody who's in this kind of situation, jump on that with both of your therapeutic feet and don't let them go there. Like, just because that was a mistake, yes, it was a mistake. I'm a terrible person. No. That's completely different. Human beings make mistakes, but human beings are not mistakes. And there's a key difference between that kind of thing. So I like that. Jump with both of your therapeutic feet. I like that. I like that. I never said that before, but I think I'm going to go with that more often. Right? All right, that's it. The thoughts of death. And the thoughts of death come into the situation that after you've been that way for a while, it's symptom relief a lot. The suicidal kind of thoughts. There's people who contemplate suicide at somebody. Like, I'm going to kill myself and see how you like that. But a lot of times the suicidal beliefs, it's just so bad, it hurts so bad, I just want out of the symptoms, is where that becomes part of it. And we'll talk about some more of that later. Trouble with concentration, the words there I like are intrusive negativity. And if you've ever been in a situation where there's something heavy on your mind, and we all probably have, right? There's something heavy on your mind, it keeps coming back. And something like everything's a trigger, and that intrusive negativity, over and over again. And there's many circumstances in our lives that negativity, that bad set of circumstances, can become intrusive and difficult to deal with. There's a lady in my neighborhood who just lost her husband recently like that. You know, that's what she was saying. There's like hardly anything you can do. You take the dog for a walk. Oh, the dog loved it. You know, that intrusive, everything, everywhere leads you back to the negativity. That's the idea. You get the idea of like what depression must be like with that. You end up moving slow and or agitated with that. Right, everything's an effort. Or you get agitated real quick. More on depression. The sleep thing, of course, sleep trouble, either too much or too little. When you are in that state of mind, sleep can be a welcome respite. I just want to sleep, I just want to sleep, I just want to sleep. Because when you sleep, the dreams can take you somewhere else, and you get a little bit of break from the consciousness of that intrusive negativity. So it's nice to sleep. Other times, the intrusive negativity, you can't sleep because it runs around your mind. So that's one of the diagnostic things. How's your sleep? How's your eating is another thing. Eating can be symptom relief. Right? We eat, we feel better. There's a natural good feeling when we put something in our stomach. Nothing works better than sugar. Sugary things, salty things. And so you tend to like that little relief from the down feeling, the oof, like that. And so you tend to eat too much. Or it's so bad that I don't even have the energy to want to eat. And so either one extreme or the other. So then you get weight gain, weight loss with it. With me so far? I'm going pretty fast through some of this kind of stuff because there's better stuff in a minute about it in a minute. It's often recurrent. It's often chronic. It does tend to run in families as well. So I said, and here's a key point. Now this is one of the points that I think the actual science maybe diverges a bit from what the common wisdom might show on that too, because the drug companies and things like that, you know, you'll see commercials on TV about it, and they'll say depression is a disease, and you know, and then that leads you, it gives you the impression that it's like a biological thing and everything, and you of course need medication, their medication, to combat the disease. That's a thing, but it's very rare. There are some times when there are some things with depression in your mind that's at a chemical, neurological level to start with, but that's extremely rare. That's not the usual situation. Depression comes from when you have events, and the way you interpret those events, the way you experience those events in the context you are, is the bulk by far of what goes on in depression. The way you perceive the world in combination with the things that occur to you. And that's where it mostly lies with that. Again, the science there is a little different than what the common wisdom on that is. And it's recurrent because the way we start to perceive the world sticks around, hangs around in our mind a bit, is we all have belief systems at a deeper belief level of things, and they're all like a little different. When things happen in your life, like the people I'm sure you work with, when you have those kind of difficult situations, it can change your worldview pretty dramatically and pretty quickly. And sometimes if you keep thinking along those lines, if your beliefs about the world and the way it works is very negative, then that can be a recurrent kind of a theme that you go over and over. I'll get into that a little bit more. With me on that? All right. So next time you see a commercial on TV and they say it's a depression, it's a disease, you need you need Latuda for that kind of thing, go, that's a false portrayal of what's actually going on there in most cases. I'll get used to this here. Risk. The risks of depression, and I would imagine some of this is going to be like what you do for a living, like the risk, right? So I was going over this, and I was thinking who I was talking to this morning, like, I think you're going to be pretty familiar with a lot of these kind of things, with homelessness, but the family history, it's in the family, and not in a biological, genetic sense as much as you learn your outlook of the world, the way things are a lot of times, in the back seat of the minivan. You hear and watch and see what goes on, and you get those lessons, those teachable moments come through a little bit at a time over a long course of time, which is where that family history becomes a reality. Troubled childhood and divorce is very associated with it. Arguing in the home, fighting, and when kids are around, that sort of thing, has it gives a lesson to them about the way people get along, about the way people treat each other. And that's fertile soil for depression. Poverty, social struggles, homelessness, right? School problems. Kids who are struggling in any way in school. People with even learning disabilities. You go to school and this is your first venture into the world, and if it doesn't go well, What do you think about that? What do you think about that? And the thing that happens there, and this is absolutely deadly. Here's another thing to write down here. And actually, I hope some of this stuff, like after your, like tonight, that when you talk with people and everything like that, or talk with family, that somewhere along the line you go, you know what I learned today? And that some of these nuggets stick with you. But the absolute emotional deadliness of comparison to other people. And we do it without thinking, and we do it consistently. And imagine if you first venture into the world and you go to school and it doesn't go well, behaviorally, academically, and how you compare yourself then with other people. And if you're sitting in the classroom, everybody's going, oh, like this, and you're going, what in the world are they talking about? Everything, and how that might internalize your view of yourself, other people, and the way the world works. You know? Again, I'll use my same line. Jump with both feet of you in your therapeutic feet. And when you see people compare themselves and try to ferret that out with other people's and other people's conditions, because that can really be a difficult thing to get over once you start to compare yourself, especially in that negative way. Recent adverse events, injuries, illnesses as well. The permanency, the pervasiveness of illness sometimes, like that. You know, depression again is a common outcome of that. Any kind of social disconnection. You're talking about young kids too. Not being accepted. What happens in the lunchrooms is extremely important. What table you sit at or not can tell you something about the way the world works that can leave a permanent or kind of a long-lasting stain on the person. This is subtle stuff, but when you start unraveling this, when you start talking to people in counseling sessions, that's the stuff that has had the impact on how you get to be a depressed person. That social disconnection, even adults. I don't feel like I'm like other people. My situation is like this. Other people are like that. Those comparisons, again, whoa, 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 whoa. You are where you are, and that's fine. And that's what we're dealing with. We're not comparing to somebody else. Okay?